Good morning, Facebook family, my faithful loyal YouTube subscribers. Today it is Wednesday, November 30th, the year is 2016. So I'm going to do a series of videos. I'm starting with this one about Earl and I's relationship over the past 20 years. So, of course, I guess the main question would be, how did we meet? What led to Earl and I meeting? And, well, I'll explain it very simple. In 1995, I went to a gym, attended a gym in Atlanta called Lee Haney's Gym. It was located in the Potts City Hall East building, which is now Potts Market or something like that. They just renovated. It was an old Sears building, department store that was converted into City Hall East, and now today it is a large retail and shopping place with apartments and stores, and it's called Potts Market or something like that. So I would see Earl and I would see each other at the gym and at Lee Haney's gym, but we didn't particularly care for each other. I don't know why, but you all know how how people can be, particularly gay folks. You really don't know a person, and you've never been introduced to a person. You tend to keep your distance. So I didn't know him, and he didn't know me, and we walked right past each other, and not say a word. And I think that's predominantly a gay thing, because I've never had this issue with straight guys. Straight guys are a lot more friendly and more willing to talk and communicate than gay guys for whatever reasons. But anyway, one day I was going into the gym. This was in '96, and I saw some guy that I had never seen before, and I didn't recognize him. So as we walk by, I started talking to him. I said, "Hey, man, what's up? You must be new here to this gym." And he was like, "No, I'm not new here. I've been going here." So I'm looking at him like, "Wow, I've never seen you before." He's like, "Yeah, you see me every day. You walk right past me every day." I said, "I do." And then he said, "I cut my hair off." I look, and then I began to understand. Earl had dreadlocks, so these little twists, which I couldn't stand. And when he cut it off, he went with a bald head. I like that more. So one thing led to another, and that's how we kind of broke the ice and started communicating, started talking. It was in '96. And we both 26 years of age. And we just hit it off pretty well. We were getting to know each other. At that time, he was living with his ex, and they had been together going on 5 years. So for 5 years, he lived in Atlanta with a guy that he went to college with. And I don't know, they were living together. But I guess they were also going through the process of beginning to terminate their relationship. I'm not too sure. Earl seems to say that if he had not met me, that he probably would still be with Kendall. What a blessing that would have been. But anyway, so if Earl hadn't met me, and he feels like he probably would have still been with Kendall for the rest of his life, because they are still good friends. So, in the summer of '96, fall of '96, we were dating. And I had been through a couple of bad relationships. And I was being very cautious with my heart. I wasn't going to be rushing to anything. There was no need to rush. He was living with his ex. I wanted to know what was going on, what the decision was going to be. I mean, I was uncomfortable with that. I was just trying to figure out what was going to happen between he and I. And I wasn't going to rush it. So, when it came down to sex, I slammed the brakes on that one. No sex, buddy. Until we figure out which direction this is going to go. Because it might not go nowhere. You might still be sitting over there with your ex. If you think you're going to be coming over here having sex with me and run home to your ex, you got another goddamn thing coming. So I would sit up in my apartment. He would come visit me and be hanging out till the time of the witching hour, as I call it, time to go to bed. When it came time to go to bed, Earl had to go home. There was no spending the night over there until you resolve your situation. So this went on for a little while. This went on for months. We would go out to dinner. We would go to movies. We would get to know each other. We were gradually getting to know each other. And back then, that was the best way that situation should have been handled. Because today, people jump in bed and have sex with the next. As soon as they meet somebody, they online and met somebody. 15 minutes later, they fuck. That did not happen. It took us months before we finally, I felt comfortable enough that maybe this was going someplace. That finally, maybe this was the guy. You remember, even though then we were having little minor issues, but I'd been through a couple horrible relationships. So I said, well, let me just stick this one out and see what happens. So, at that time in 90s, let me think. So we met in 96. So 1997, I had a house built. I built a house, and at one point, Earl said, should he move in the house with me? We hadn't known each other, not even a year at this point. So I said, no. Why don't you get an apartment around the corner from the house? And that's what we did. He got an apartment. He finally moved out from living with his ex. He got his own apartment. And I had a house. I had built a house out in Lithonia. So our house was within 10 minutes. My house was 10 minutes from his apartment. So that worked out fairly good for the most part. We were having some issues, but again, minor issues in the scheme of things. Earl Earl liked to hang out in the streets. I was more of a homebody. I didn't believe in getting in the car, hitting the streets at 10, 11, 12, midnight, just cruising the streets, going to see what was going on in Atlanta. I was going either to a nightclub or I was going my ass to bed. And I had a group of friends, but Earl was more of he liked to get out in the streets for some odd reason. And so I wouldn't necessarily say I had a problem with this, but I would be in bed asleep and he'd come knocking on my door at 2, 3 in the morning, and I'm like, I was in bed asleep. Why are you up so late? And, I was just out with some friends and I decided to come over here. And so that kind of, this went on for a little while before I put my foot down. If you with your friends, y'all out hanging out, do you hang with them? And I'll see you the next day. Don't come interrupting my sleep in the middle of the night because I'm in bed asleep. But now all of a sudden you, I guess, in the mood. By this time we had started, we had started having sex in our relationship. Now, I can honestly say our sex life for the most part has been fairly good in our relationship. From the very beginning right up to whatever, the whole time I think we had great sex. So I think sex plays a vital, important part in any relationship. If you're not having good sex in your relationship, it ain't gonna last. You can get past any other issue, but the sex sucks, it just ain't gonna happen. So anyway, I had that house out in Lithonia. Earl had his apartment. And we both decided we were too far out. It was in 97. This was just Earl was running for the Cobb County schools. I was living in Lithonia, way out in the country. I said, we were like, this is not going to happen. Because when I met Earl, I was living in Buckhead. So I moved from Buckhead to Lithonia. So now I started building a house downtown Atlanta. I was going to sell the house in Lithonia. So I built the house downtown Atlanta in the fall of 97. Moved into it, and Earl moved into an apartment in Grant Park. So now we were in the city, which made our relationship a lot more fun because we can do a lot more fun activities together. We would get along fairly well. And, we had our friends. I had my friends and he had his friends. Earl and I's relationship was getting along pretty well. Again, we were still having some issues here and there. Earl liked to rip and run in the damn streets. I just didn't understand, what are you doing out here on these streets? And I didn't like it. So I was like, if the streets are that important to you to be ripping around the streets, then you take the streets and leave me alone. So he had to get that under control. But it took him a long time to get. So he was just mesmerized with getting in his car and riding the streets. Like you were in high school or something. I just never understood it. But a lot of people get this shit. They're not going anywhere in particular, just driving around, wasting gas. I didn't understand it. So I built the house downtown Atlanta, an old 4th Ward, moved into it in 98, in the fall of 98. It was a fairly large house with an expensive mortgage. So I said, okay, now we've been seeing each other going on 2 years. He had an apartment. That was his second apartment. This is my second house. And I just said, okay, enough. There's no need for you to be paying rent for an apartment and you constantly sitting over here looking at me. I'm constantly over there looking at you. One of these places got to go. And since I just built this beautiful house with a swimming pool in the backyard, downtown Atlanta, your ragged apartment, it's time to skedaddle. So sure enough, he had a short lease, or I don't know how long that lease was, but whenever that lease came up, we made the decision he would move in with me. This was in 98. It had to be 98, 99, something. I can't remember. Maybe I moved I can't remember. Anyway, he moved in, and that's when all hell broke loose. Now, we had friends. I had friends. He had friends. Our friends have been for a long time just on the sidelines because they would see us together. Occasionally, they would never say nothing. But the day Earl moved into that house, I never forget this. I got a phone call from a buddy of mine. Hey, what are you doing today? Let's go shopping. Let's go here. I'm going to go to the farmer's market. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to cook dinner with the house. Over at my house. So we have dinner and stuff like that in my house. My friends would come over. We play cards. We do all kinds of stuff. Sit by the pool grill. I said, well, today Earl's moving into the house today, so I'm going to be kind of busy. And he was like, what? Why did you do that? You should never have moved him in. That's the worst mistake you ever. That was stupid. You should never move that man into the house. So at the same time, I'm having this conversation with one of my friends. Earl is also having this conversation with his friends. What are you doing? I'm moving in Malta. Why are you moving in with him? You should never move in with him. You should keep your own damn place. Never move in with somebody. So that day, here we both were getting all this negative information from various people about him moving in. It got to a point where we had this U-Haul. We got all his stuff out of his apartment. Got everything to the house. Had to climb up this hill and sat in the living room. We left everything in the living room. This is summertime because school was out. Earl's school had just got out for summer. Atlanta Public Schools was out. So we set the stuff on the pool in the living room to unpack so we can get rid of the U-Haul. So by the time we got back from dropping the U-Haul back off, and we attack all the stuff that's sitting in the living room, I look up and Earl's getting dressed. I'm like, where are you going? He's like, I'm going to a party. I said, a party? And we with all this stuff, boxes all over the living room, clothes, shoes, miscellaneous stuff, his furniture. I'm trying to figure out where all this shit going to go, and you on your way to a party. But that was Earl's way of dealing with the stress of all these people saying that he had made a bad move moving in with me. And so that gave me an opportunity to deal with all my friends who wanted to come over. We were supposed to be frying fish, and we were going to have a fish fry and then lay up by the pool. But now we had all Earl's stuff in the living room, in the way. So, of course, my friends get there, and they're like, what are we going to do with all this stuff? It's in our way. I said, well, I don't know what we're going to do with this stuff. So my friends volunteered to help me move all Earl's stuff into the garage. We should not have done that. That's what happened. We moved the stuff into the garage so we can have space in the living room, that's the house, so we can have our little fish fry. Now, of course, hours later, Earl returns and the stuff is piled up in the garage, and he's upset about this because he didn't get a chance to sort through his stuff. So there were a series of things that probably should not have happened. He shouldn't have left that party the day he moved into the house. He should have cleared all that stuff. That party wasn't going no place. I guess I could have waited and had my party the next day after we, water under the bridge now. But that began a series of problems with he and I about respecting each other's stuff. It was just some junk he had. I had expensive furniture. I didn't have no nice stuff. I remember we bought that furniture from like the outlet stores and something like that. I had Bernhardt. I had expensive furniture. There was no place for this stuff in his house. We tried to find room with it. And eventually we ended up loading that stuff into a U-Haul and driving it to Florida to get his parents because there was no place to put the stuff. So we never really sat down and said, okay, where is this going? Where does this go? Where does that go? I already had purchased furniture. So that was one of the first problems we had. The move in. And I don't think the move would have been so stressful had we had not had friends inserting themselves into that process. Even my own mother, when she found out Earl had been moving in there, I remember talking to her. She's like, "Are you sure you're making the right decision? I mean, you have a nice house, you're living there by yourself." I had a big 3,000, 4,000 square foot house. I was living there alone. Why did I need a 3,000 to 4,000 square foot house with a 3-car garage to sit there and stare out the windows by myself? No, that wasn't the reason why I bought that house. I bought the house for him and I to live together. And that's what we did. So that was the beginning. So this was in 1998. I get the years confused. I'm thinking it's even 1998. I think Earl moved in the spring of 99. I bought the house in 98, so he had to move in the spring of 99, I'm thinking. But I had moved into the house in 98. It was a beautiful house. Tons of rooms. We had a 3-car garage, or had a gate. It had a swimming pool right downtown Atlanta in the hood at the time. It's funny because now you go over there, the Old Fourth Ward is beautiful. But when I lived over there, it was gunfire, shooting, niggas getting killed, and boarded up houses and trash everywhere. I mean, trash dumped. I remember one morning I got up, somebody dumped all this trash from my house. I had to get a truck and get workers to move this trash and take it to the dumpster. People just dump trash on the street that I lived in. It was filthy down there. It doesn't look that way today. Now it's a beautiful neighborhood. Gentrification has definitely changed the Old Fourth Ward. But that was the beginning for Earl and I. And then, one thing I will say, now, in those first couple of years, Earl and I did a lot of traveling. I think that was good for our relationship. Earl, the first time Earl rode on an airplane, he flew with me to New York City. We hung out in New York. We went to Chicago. We went to Detroit. We went to Tennessee. We went to New Orleans. We went down to... We did a lot of traveling and got out of Atlanta. And that helped our relationship because in his previous relationship, Earl was with a guy for 5 years and they never went anywhere. Nowhere. I said, oh, hell no, buddy. I'd be damned to hell I'm be in a relationship, me sitting around here looking around Atlanta. We getting the hell up out this motherfucker. And we left. We went everywhere. We did, like I said, we went to Chicago, Detroit, Canada, Ohio, Indiana. We did a lot of road trips. And we flew to Vegas. We did a lot of stuff within those first 2 years just to get out of Atlanta. So I also think that helps when you travel with your partner. I think that when you first start a relationship, you guys need to, that's when the relationship is what I call the honeymoon years. Get up, go out, travel, do some stuff. Have fun. Don't just sit around staring at your surroundings in Atlanta. Get in the car, go someplace, do something, do anything. And I think that made our relationship a whole lot better. So that was the first few years. Moving into Rankin Street opened up a can of worms. So now we had more people looking at us. At a beautiful house. It wasn't out in the suburbs. It was downtown Atlanta. Had a swimming pool. We had friends. So now all of a sudden, the jealousy, the anger, the jealousy, hate, envy from family members and friends all came to life. And looking back on that, I learned a lot from that experience. And I'm going to talk about family members, friends, and how they can be jealous of a loving relationship that they're not a part of because they don't have anybody. I mean, I could tell you stories. I'm going to tell you some stories. Because when he moved into that house with me, that's when all hell broke loose. So, if you like my videos, click like, share them with family members and friends. I'm out of here. And I'll do part 2 later on. My throat's kind of messing with me, these allergies. It's 70 degrees here today. I mean, the weather's just so funny. One day it's good, one day it's bad, yesterday it's cold. My throat is like, what the hell is going on around this camp? So, anyway, again, today it is Wednesday, November 30th, 2016. And it's just me talking about Earl and I's relationship. And I'll continue this in part 2. I'm out.